February 18, 2001, Foxstone Park, Vienna, Virginia. The winter dusk settled over the frozen landscape like a shroud, bare trees standing as silent sentinels along the empty walking path. Light snow had begun to fall, each flake suspended briefly in the amber glow of distant street lamps, before descending to join the thin white blanket already covering the ground. The park was deserted, as it always was at this hour on a Sunday evening, save for one man who moved with measured precision through the gathering darkness. He wore a dark overcoat, unremarkable in every way, and carried himself with the careful anonymity of someone who had spent decades mastering the art of being overlooked. In his hand, he clutched a black plastic garbage bag, its contents wrapped carefully in tape to protect them from the elements. He approached a wooden footbridge spanning a narrow creek, its waters moving sluggishly beneath a skin of ice. Beneath the bridge, tucked into a crevice in the concrete support, was a dead drop site he had used many times before. The man knelt, his breath visible in the cold air, and reached into the shadowed space. His fingers found the steel hook he had installed there himself. He hung the bag carefully, checking twice that it was secure, then stood and brushed the snow from his knees. He did not know that less than 100 yards away, hidden among the trees with night vision equipment and telephoto lenses, a dozen FBI special agents watched his every movement. Within minutes, as he walked back toward his car, those agents would emerge and place him under arrest. His name was Robert Philip Hanssen, and the secrets he had sold to the Soviet Union and Russia had cost more American lives than any spy in the nation's history. To understand how Robert Hanssen came to that footbridge requires understanding the world that shaped him. The Federal Bureau of Investigation in the late 20th century cultivated an image of incorruptibility. FBI agents represented the finest traditions of American law enforcement and counterintelligence. During the Cold War, this mission took on existential dimensions. The Soviet Union, with its vast intelligence apparatus encompassing the KGB and GRU, posed what American policymakers viewed as an unprecedented threat. The FBI's Counterintelligence Division was charged with identifying and neutralizing these threats. It required patience, attention to detail, and above all, absolute trustworthiness. The men and women who worked in counterintelligence had access to the most closely guarded secrets in American intelligence. They knew the identities of American agents operating behind the Iron Curtain. They understood the technical capabilities of American surveillance systems. The system depended entirely on the assumption that these guardians were themselves beyond corruption. Robert Philip Hanssen was born on April 18, 1944, in Chicago, Illinois. His father, Howard Hanssen, was a Chicago police officer. Demanding and critical of his son, young Robert grew up in his father's shadow, constantly measured and found wanting. This created a peculiar combination, an intense desire to prove himself, coupled with deep resentment of authority. He became withdrawn, bookish, awkward with peers. He threw himself into studies, particularly sciences and mathematics, where clear rules provided refuge from messy human relationships. He attended Knox College, studying chemistry, and earned an MBA from Northwestern University with a concentration in accounting and information systems. In 1968, Hanssen joined the Chicago Police Department as an investigator in internal affairs. He married Bonnie Walk, a devout Catholic woman who would bear him 6 children. In 1976, Robert Hanssen joined the FBI, initially assigned to Gary, Indiana, working white-collar crime cases. His superiors noted he was intelligent and thorough, though also difficult to manage, prone to arrogance, and uncomfortable in the Bureau's hierarchical culture. In 1978, he transferred to New York City, assigned to a unit working foreign counterintelligence. It was here, in 1979, that Robert Hanssen first contacted Soviet intelligence services. The year was 1979. The Cold War was entering one of its most dangerous phases. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan was imminent. The intelligence war between superpowers was conducted with renewed intensity. In this environment, Robert Hanssen contacted the GRU through the Soviet trade mission in New York. His offer was simple. He had access to classified information and was willing to sell it. The Soviets, cautious about potential provocations, accepted with interest and suspicion. They assigned him the code name Ramon Garcia and established procedures for dead drops that would allow them to receive material without meeting face-to-face. This method was unusual. Most spies operated through handlers who met regularly, assessed their access, and guided collection efforts. Hanssen refused such meetings, insisting on operating anonymously, never revealing his true identity, even to Soviet controllers. This reflected something deeper in his psychology, conducting betrayal as an intellectual exercise, a game played against the system. His first period of active espionage lasted until 1981. He provided the Soviets with information about FBI surveillance methods, counterintelligence investigations, and classified technical operations. Then something remarkable happened. He stopped. For reasons that remain unclear, Hanssen suspended his espionage activities for several years, working as an apparently loyal FBI agent. In 1985, a year known in intelligence circles as the Year of the Spy, Robert Hanssen resumed his treasonous activities. His access had improved dramatically. He was assigned to the Soviet Analytical Unit at FBI headquarters, giving him broad access to counterintelligence operations. His reputation as the Bureau's computer expert gave him access to databases containing the most sensitive information. On October 1, 1985, Hanssen sent a letter to Viktor Degtyaryov, a KGB officer at the Soviet embassy. The letter was a masterpiece of calculated betrayal. He identified 3 Soviet intelligence officers secretly working for the United States, Valery Martinov and Sergei Motorin, both KGB officers in Washington cooperating with the FBI, and Major General Dmitry Polyakov, a senior GRU officer who had spied for America since 1961. With this single letter, Hanssen condemned 3 men to death. He also provided information about technical operations, including an FBI tunnel constructed to intercept Soviet communications. In return, he demanded payment in diamonds. The KGB, realizing they had acquired a source of extraordinary value, moved quickly. They assigned him the code name Ramon B and established secure communication protocols. Martinov and Motorin were recalled to Moscow and executed. Polyakov was arrested in 1986 and executed in 1988. Throughout 1985 and 1986, the KGB conducted sweeping arrests that decimated American intelligence operations. More than a dozen Soviet citizens cooperating with the CIA or FBI were arrested and executed. Operations that had taken years to develop were rolled up overnight. The American intelligence community faced catastrophic loss of sources within the Soviet Union. The immediate assumption was that there must be a mole at a high level. The CIA launched intensive internal investigation, focusing on its Soviet division. The FBI also began looking for the source of compromise, though with less urgency since most compromised operations belonged to CIA. Neither organization initially grasped that the worst damage was being done by a man sitting in FBI headquarters with access to information from both agencies. Robert Hanssen continued his work, outwardly the devoted agent, inwardly the calculating traitor. He attended Mass regularly, participated in Opus Dei, and maintained the appearance of unshakable moral certainty. Colleagues found him difficult but never suspected betrayal. He was too conventional, too boring to attract serious scrutiny. As the Cold War ended with the Soviet Union's dissolution in 1991, Hanssen faced a complicated situation. His customers had disappeared, replaced by a struggling Russian Federation. For several years in the early 1990s, he appears to have been dormant, unsure how to resume contact. He continued his FBI career, receiving assignments keeping him close to sensitive counterintelligence information. In 1995, he resumed active espionage with the SVR, the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service. The methods were the same: anonymous communications, dead drops in Virginia parks, exchanges of cash and diamonds for documents in computer disks. The scale of his betrayal increased. He had access to extraordinarily sensitive compartmented information. He revealed that the FBI had recruited a Russian intelligence officer, likely resulting in execution. He provided information about a secret tunnel intercepting communications from a Russian facility, an operation costing hundreds of millions of dollars. By his arrest, he had received more than $1.4 million in cash and diamonds. He used this money carefully. Donations to Catholic charities, helping friends, funding his children's education, modest real estate investments. He did not live lavishly, avoiding detection that had snared other spies. While Hanssen continued his betrayals throughout the 1990s, American intelligence struggled to understand the extent of compromise. The arrest of Aldrich Ames in 1994 seemed to solve the mystery of 1985 compromises. But careful analysts noticed disturbing patterns that Ames's betrayal did not explain. Some compromised operations had not been known to Ames. Compromises continued even after his arrest. The unavoidable conclusion: there must be another mole, still active, still operating with impunity. The search became one of the highest priorities in American counterintelligence. For years, the investigation made little progress. The break came from money. In late 2000, the FBI obtained a file from KGB archives detailing activities of a highly productive spy since 1985. The file did not contain his true name, but included recordings of conversations, documents in his handwriting, and details about dead drop sites. FBI analysts began painstaking work analyzing this material. Gradually, impossibly, evidence pointed toward an unthinkable conclusion. The spy was not a CIA officer, but someone inside the FBI itself. By early 2001, the investigation focused on Robert Philip Hanssen. Intensive surveillance began in January 2001. On February 18, 2001, agents followed Hanssen to Foxstone Park and watched as he placed a package in the dead drop. As he walked back to his car, FBI agents moved in. The ghost had finally been caught. The arrest sent shockwaves through American intelligence. Here was a man trusted with the most sensitive secrets who had been a Russian spy for more than 20 years. FBI Director Louis Freeh called it a dark day in FBI history. Hanssen, confronted with overwhelming evidence, made a calculated decision. Rather than face trial and possible death penalty, he agreed to cooperate in exchange for life imprisonment. On July 6, 2001, he pleaded guilty to 15 counts of espionage. On May 10, 2002, he was sentenced to life without parole at ADX Florence Supermax prison, where he remains in solitary confinement. Debriefings revealed the full extent of his betrayal. More than 6,000 pages of documents and 26 computer disks, dozens of compromised sources, hundreds of millions in lost technical operations. The damage to American national security was incalculable. More troubling was what his case revealed about system vulnerabilities. Hanssen had operated for over 20 years, surviving multiple polygraphs and security investigations. The systems designed to catch spies had all failed. The Hanssen case forced comprehensive institutional reform. The FBI implemented sweeping changes in security procedures, new positions with broad authority, strengthened clearance procedures, enhanced polygraphs, improved financial monitoring, tightened information security. Throughout the intelligence community, agencies reviewed their own procedures and strengthened insider threat programs. But beneath all reforms was a troubling reality. There is no perfect defense against the insider threat. Someone with authorized access will always have opportunity to betray if they choose. Security measures can raise the cost and increase detection likelihood, but cannot provide absolute protection. The human cost of Hanssen's betrayal cannot be measured in statistics. Russians who cooperated with American intelligence paid with their lives. Martinov, Motorin, Polyakov, executed because Hanssen sold their names for money. Within the FBI, colleagues struggled to process the revelation. The institutional damage to the Bureau's reputation was significant. For Bonnie Hanssen and their children, the revelation shattered their lives completely. In his cell at ADX Florence, Robert Hanssen lives out his remaining years in near-total isolation. He is now elderly, his health declining with little contact with the outside world. He will die in that cell, and his grave will be marked simply, if at all. Yet his ghost continues to haunt American intelligence. Every new Insider Threat Case returns analysts to the lessons of Hanssen, asking what might have prevented betrayal and what was missed. The question that haunts these discussions is whether security measures implemented to prevent another Hanssen have created their own problems, fostering paranoia that makes it harder to recruit talent and function effectively. The tension between security and effectiveness has no perfect resolution. The Hanssen case stands as permanent reminder of the costs of failure and the difficulty of achieving perfect security. His legacy is ultimately a testament to the fragility of trust and the enduring cost of betrayal. The footbridge in Folkestone Park still stands, a silent witness to that final dead drop, an accidental monument to one of the darkest chapters in American intelligence history, a reminder that the most dangerous threats sometimes come not from enemies we watch, but from colleagues we trust.